Good. We're gonna record here.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it best I won't pick up the device? I'll just leave it there for you. Alright, so Dungeon Keeper is a cult classic from the 90s. It was built by Bullfrog and Peter Molyneux. You probably maybe recognize Peter Molyneux.
Sure.
So this is one of his greatest hits games. And I work for the Mythic studio at EA. And EA basically came to us and said, what mobile game do you guys want to work on next? So we were like, alright, well let's look at kind of what IP you guys have. And we started going through and we found Dungeon Keeper. And it was just for us, I grew up playing Dungeon Keeper. It's one of those games that kind of helped define my gamer DNA as a kid. And I was super stoked and excited to have the opportunity to bring it to a new platform that never even existed back then, and to like a whole new generation of gamers. As well as, hopefully make some of the classic DK fans excited about the game with what we're doing. So, for those who don't know, Dungeon Keeper is kind of a twist on the classic real-time strategy. You don't play as the hero, you actually play as the bad guy. So it's good to be bad in Dungeon Keeper. So you have your mistress with her whip, and she cracks her whip and orders people around. She makes them hit a little bit harder. You have chickens running around because they're scared they're going to be eaten by the bile demon. You have imps that you get to smack and have them work a little bit harder and move a little bit faster. And so there's lots of little funny characters, and of course Horny himself is one of the main characters. He's all full of, they're very witty, characterful characters, they make you laugh, they're very funny. So we wanted to make sure we carried all that over, because that's some of the best stuff. And on top of that, this game is online, it's connected. You're a keeper, I'm a keeper, we're all keepers, we're all building our own dungeons, and we amass our army, we gather our resources, we customize out our dungeons, and then we go and attack other people's dungeons and raid other keepers' dungeons, and to get additional resources. So then we can take all their gold from their treasury and then build up our dungeon to be even more powerful. Alright, so that's kind of the premise of the game, and it's meant to be played in small bursts of time as well as long bursts of time. So you can come in for 30 seconds, order some things to happen, and then kind of put your phone away, or you can, when you get home later on that evening, kick up your feet on the couch, pull out your tablet, and sit there and kind of customize and spend an hour if you want to. Dungeon Keeper's coming out this winter. It's going to be on the App Store as well as the Google Play Store. So no matter if you're an iOS user or an Android user, you'll be able to have fun playing the game. And then it's going to be in 14 languages. So we're super excited about that. And it's going to be a freemium game. So there's absolutely no reason to not download the game and try it out and at least get a good laugh out of it. And at least smack an imp, please. And just check it out. The way we're planning on monetizing the game is really just around time. So it's not going to be a pay-to-win game. You're not just going to spend money to always win. That's not going to work. But it's just all the content is accessible no matter how much you spend or don't spend. It's just a matter of time of how long it takes to get there. So players get the choice. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Dungeon Keeper here, so you can see a little bit of what this is about. Now the first thing we wanted to show players is the whole Hand of Evil concept. So in the classic, the cursor on the PC was that hand and you were smacking imps. Well, now that Hand of Evil is your physical hand, so we want to make sure you can smack the imp. So here I have my imp come up, and then go ahead and give him a hit, and then off we go into our dungeon. Now, this dungeon I've been building since Gamescom started, so it doesn't represent like what a new dungeon would look like. You would actually have Horny come in and he would explain the mechanics of the game in these horny little ways. And but here we start right on top of the dungeon heart, and this is the most critical room in your dungeon. You basically want to protect it at all costs. It's also the primary room you want to attack when you're raiding other keepers' dungeons. And we have different types of rooms, and for Gamescom we're just showing a small subset of them. We have here our library. Libraries are great because once you build a library, then you can summon the minion that's associated with that library, which is the Warlock. So you just can't build the minions all of a sudden. They have prerequisites, so you need to have certain rooms in order to have them summoned. And then also the library has the benefit of creating spells. So spells were a part of the original classic, and so we wanted to bring some of those spells over, because now it's really fun to cast the spells because you're using your hand to do all the damage. So we have Cluck Off spell, which basically turns all your enemies into chickens on the screen, and you quickly, before the timer runs out, try to squish as many of them. And then we have the Fire or Dragon Breath spell, which summons a dragon in, and you can drag around where he breathes fire to, which is pretty cool and helps kind of clear out room for a final push into taking over a room and claiming it. We have Hatcheries, which basically help set the amount of food your dungeon gets, which gives you a certain capacity for how many minions you can have. So the more hatcheries you have, the higher level the hatcheries, the more minions you can have in your dungeon, in your army. We have the treasury. Treasury is great because that's where you need to store your gold. And then just like in the original game, once you max out your treasury, you either need to build a second treasury or expand the space. Otherwise, you can't get any more gold. So here I actually have 2 treasuries. We have a workshop. Workshop's great because it unlocks traps. And traps are a really important part in this game. And I'll show you a couple of those right now, actually. I have a spike trap over here that can move around and place. Any enemy who walks on the trap, they'll get hit with the spikes. I have a cannon trap. This cannon trap actually shoots in all cardinal directions, so it actually makes more sense when we put it there, so then it'll shoot down this hall as well as up and down. And then the other trap we're showing for Gamescom is we have a door. Doors basically hold the enemies back, hold the minions back for a short amount of time, but the higher level the door is, the longer it'll hold them. So it's great when you have you're lobbing and doing damage from over a wall to try to hold them there as long as possible. Or better yet, maybe even put a spike trap in front of the door so that's going off while they're trying to beat down the door. You might be able to take out a couple minions. So there's a lot of depths to combat if you want to get into it, which is fun. So first and foremost, probably the thing you're going to want to do is dig, because you need to dig out your spaces. You can see my dungeon here. I have all this rock that I can dig through. So I'll go ahead and just show you a little bit how digging is. So I can actually take here and drag, just simply swiping my finger, and off my imps go. If I feel like they're moving a little slow, I actually can come in here and put them more to work. Now they're really going to work a little bit harder for a set amount of time, and I can come back in later and just remind them again. So now if I sit here, off they come running, clearing out this room. And just as easy as I can tunnel through, I can just very quickly close up spaces, which is great. And that's important because this dungeon is always with you. As you go through the single player campaign or as you raid other players in PvP, you use the same dungeon every time. So you're constantly expanding your dungeon, getting new rooms, getting new traps, getting new minions. So you may unlock a new room that kind of has a different mechanic to it. It may change your strategy around. So we want you to be able to quickly kind of change your dungeon as you like. For example, I can actually just take this hatchery and just move it over there. It's very fast. So that's an example of traps and rooms and tunneling. Now, at some point, you're going to run out of resources. You're not going to have enough gold or enough stone, so you decide that you need to raid. So you can get more gold and stone by doing the single-player campaign against the computer AI, if you like, or you can find other keepers. And then another example I'm just using for here at the show is I'm actually testing my own dungeon, which you don't get resources from doing that, but you can play against yourself, so you can kind of analyze where the strengths and weaknesses of your dungeon are. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now when this loads up, I have a couple points of entry into my dungeon. I have a point from the south and a point from the north. I don't have anywhere else I can deploy because I haven't unlocked or claimed any of those additional mines. So coming in here, I see there's actually a troll guarding the workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and take him out before I deploy my minions. So I'll use that cluck off spell, turn him into a chicken, and squish him. So now he's out. And I'll go ahead and throw in some of my trolls. Now trolls are great because they love going after traps, doors, and taking down rooms with traps. So they'll clear them first. They're not going to worry about the treasury. And then I see there's a warlock here, so I'm going to go ahead and help the warlock, take that warlock out, so the trolls have a clear path to the rest of the traps. Now off they go. I can actually change where I want to deploy my minions. I'm going to throw my warlocks up there, and my skeletons. So they're going to start working on that treasury, stealing some of the resources gradually from that. While the rest of my trolls just got wiped out by that last hatchery. Now, once I get to 50%, it would be considered a win. If I don't make 50%, it's considered a loss. The more higher percentage goes, if you get up to 75, 100%, the more resources you can claim from that run. So I'm about to finally get to 50%. I barely made this one. There we go. So at this point I can either wait and let them finish out the rest of the dungeon. I still have a limited amount of time to finish this, or I can actually say, you know what, I have stuff to do. I'm going to go and end my dungeon, get my victory, get my resources. But as I said earlier, I'm getting 0 because I'm testing against myself.
So what happens when the time runs out and you're not finished with the dungeon?
If I'm below 50%, it's a loss.
All right. Okay.
If I'm above, it would be it's a victory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if I didn't get to 100%, then I left some resources in my enemy's dungeon. So that's kind of how the flow of it works. Of course, though, if you were playing the campaign or going against other keepers, you would come back actually with gold and stone. And then you continue kind of figuring out what you want to build next. As you up all the rooms, all the minions, all the traps, they have at least 10 tiers of progression. So every level they go up, they visually change, and then whatever their utility or function is, it gets a little bit progressively better. Alright. So that's a little Dungeon Keeper.
Awesome.
Cool?